This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
Welcome back to another edition of Real Answers Wednesdays during the Noon Report, where we discuss the issues that matter to families with licensed mental health counselor Christopher Anderson. Hey, Chris.
Hey, Sarah.
Today's topic is adulting, and this stems from a study that sheds some light on the age at which life, money, and the future start to feel real for most Americans. And according to the study, the age is 27. 27 years old to be an adult. So what say you, Chris Anderson?
You know, it's interesting how you even phrase that, is that the age at which most adults start to feel like adults. Well, I'll tell you what, that doesn't mean that they're not adults just because they don't feel like it. That right there is probably the key condition in all of this, is we're so dependent on our feelings to tell us what is and what isn't, instead of saying, no, I'm 20 years old, I'm an adult, I need to step it up a bit.
Yeah, and you can see that with your children. I'm living at home and not going to school, but working, and therefore mom can do my dishes. Can you talk about excessive obsession with entertainment?
Absolutely. And this is, I think, a big part of this is because of how readily available entertainment is in so many forms these days. And particularly if you think about the whole concept of binge watching, there was no such thing as binge watching until Amazon Prime and Netflix and Hulu and all these other services came online and offered you entire seasons of a particular show. And also electronic availability. You know, it can be in your hand. It can be on your television. It can be on your laptop. It can be on your desktop. And so we've become a very entertainment-oriented society, which also goes hand in hand with the entitlement and overindulgence in these things. These things all feed each other, and it feeds into the delay in maturing into adulthood. And we need to say, well, these types of things didn't exist in previous generations, but yet our society was much more productive. We had a society that was healthier on so many different levels. We really got to look at these and how they correlate with each other. And again, you pointed it out from that study, Sarah, that a lot of adults aren't feeling like they're adults until age 27. Well, sorry, your feelings are deceiving you because you are an adult. As a therapist, I frequently see in my practice where folks come in and they feel like, well, I feel like this is true, or I feel like this, or I feel like that. Emotional reasoning is exactly what that is. Emotional reasoning says, I feel, therefore it must be, as opposed to it is, therefore I have to feel a certain way. In other words, allowing the facts to dictate our feelings, if you will. But we've gotten that reversed tremendously in the past 2 generations maybe, where all of a sudden feelings are the most important thing as opposed to wisdom. So this emotional reasoning is a huge problem in today's society, not even just in the United States, but in other countries too. And then that usurps the proper place of wisdom. Instead of asking what is a wise thing in this situation, what is a healthy thing for me to do, we just say, well, I don't feel like it. I don't feel like adulting today, which that term drives me crazy, just to be fully honest with you. Therefore, we don't do it.
How has social media magnified this?
Social media gives us an opportunity to overindulge. We get really good at what we practice. So if we overindulge or overpractice in being entertained, then we're going to become addicted to entertainment. If we are very vicious and vile in the way we comment online, on social media posts, that stuff's going to eventually bleed out into how we engage with people in real life. There's overindulgence and there's very little restraint.
How do you as a spouse or with adult or almost adult children deal with this kind of behavior in your home?
It's so important that when you're married to really have very good, productive, focused conversations on these topics. For example, what are you going to allow your children to do? How much social media time, which if you ask me, there shouldn't be any. And I know this sounds extreme because that's not what everybody's doing. Well, I'll tell you what, if you're allowing your children to engage in social media before they're 18 and can actually buy their own phone and be responsible with the phone on their own, that I think is not a healthy practice. So as a married couple, especially, keep your conversations going, get a very clear plan, be very consistent. That's going to have the best impact on your children because they're going to see that you're a united team behind this, operating on principles of wisdom, not just principles of emotion.
What if the person that's not acting like an adult is the person you're married to?
That definitely is harder. I think, let's say you're trying to toe the line and trying to engage with very healthy, wise principles for parenting or running the household or taking care of yourself. You need to make sure you've got some trustworthy, mature believers that you can turn to for support, that you can also turn to for advice, not only in your relationship, but also in things like parenting the children and also running the household if your spouse is not really towing the line at that point. point. And again, remember, prayer is important in this, and just covering the house and your family in prayer. That's so important too, because obviously we need to make sure God is the center of all this, as well as his principles and his word for sure. So don't try to do all this on your own, because you'll burn out quickly.
You've been listening to Real Answers, Wednesdays during the Noon Report, where we discuss the issues that matter to families with licensed mental health counselor Christopher Anderson. Thank you, Chris.
You are welcome.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.